Okay, let me check. My apologies, everyone. OBS was being a little bit weird. So right now my house is smelling like peaches. And what does that have to do with how to create golden oldies in your world? Well, the smell of peaches brings me back to the summer times. And right now I'm drying peaches so that I can eat them in the winter, to bring back that feeling of the summer and that feeling and that smell of the summer and the memories it brings back. And I not only dry peaches, but I dry other fruit as well, like melons. Now you might think, but Ilse, that hardly gives anything. True, hold that thought, because that's my microwave and I need to check that for my hot chocolate. I'll be back in a sec. And here I am with my trusted Scotland mug with hot chocolate. So, golden oldies. What exactly... One moment. My apologies. What exactly are golden oldies? The way I see it, I mean, there's no real hard definition, I think. But the way I see it, golden oldies are things that remind you of the good old times. And that can be music, that can be songs, it can be the smell of apple pie. For me, it's also the smell of peaches and melons, because that brings back the summer times. And also, for me, it brings back the times when I still could eat them fresh without without dehydrating them, because of my allergies. So those were good times for me as well, in a very different way. Why is it that we remember those golden oldies so well? I think it's because it brings back memories, and especially with golden oldies, it brings back good memories. And it has to do with what you hear, what you smell, what you can see, experiences you have had in the past with that are connected with that smell or that sight or that song that you heard. So yeah, that's why I think the golden oldies are so relatable in a way. Hey ho, Dida! Welcome. So happy to see you join. And no, I won't play that song that you hate so much. But today I found another song, and that instantly brings me back to the summer times as well. And that's Keep on Track, or I think the song is officially called Trekking, from Billy Crawford, I think is his name. That's Keep on Track with me. I can't sing for the life of me, but something like Keep on Track with me, and then I don't know the rest of the lyrics. But I really love that song because you see people dancing in the summertime, people come together in the summertime, and that is one of the fun things, I think, uh, with those kind of songs, it brings you back to good times. People might even say it brings you back to better times, but that's all relatable. I mean, that all depends on your current experiences and how life was back then. I mean, looking back at the food that I am trying right now, for me, that's definitely, for that small aspect, it's definitely a better time because I could just eat anything and I didn't need to worry about allergies. So it was splendid for me. And now, when I smell that, um, I still remember those smells from the peaches and the nectarines and the melons. Those are very distinctive smells for me. And I love it. I love it. So when I'm drying fruit, um, yeah, it's my house smells like it, and I love that. And one of the benefits of drying your own fruit, if you put it in the dehydrator, it has to stay in there for quite some time. So I usually put it in the dehydrator before I go to bed, and in about 12 hours afterwards, it will just keep on drying. And sometimes I still need to dry it later on. But in the morning, when I wake up, the house really smells like peaches or melons or whatever I'm drying at that moment. So that is such a great smell to wake up to. Um, and that is, for me, that brings instantly the summertime. Of course, right now it is the summertime. Looking outside, it's raining. But we have had a few weeks with dry weather, with hot weather. So the rain right now is not that bad. It's okay. I know nature needs it. But going back to the Golden Oldies. So why do we remember them? The experiences, the sounds, the smells, the sights, and those are the things I want to keep in mind when creating golden oldies for a Tagane. And did you say you just realized your mother and you had a memory conversation some days ago? For her, sitting on a veranda listening to the rain at night brought her back memories about her childhood's cabin holidays. That's so great. That's one of those things, just the sound of the rain, or the sound of and the smell also. It's not so much the smell of the rain, but more what the rain does with the earth, um, and that brings forth a smell. So yeah, that's great. Um, and you say you were talking the 60s. Yeah, that's a great time. And what a wonderful way to wake up smelling the fruits that is. Yes, it's awesome to wake up with that. And I have to be honest, by the time that, although all that produce is gone from the shops, I have a bit of a sad feeling to put away my dehydrators, because I know that my house won't smell like that for quite a while. I mean, it's different, but the dried fruit is very intense in taste, so that brings back the memories in a different way. So yeah. And did you say, oh yes, the smell of the rain? Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. You say the other day the rain smelled like a fishing trip, and the smell of wet earth is called petrichor. That's right. I forgot about that. It's a very peculiar smell, and it's in the terrarium world. people also say that when your terrarium smells like wet earth or has that petrichor smell, your terrarium is actually doing good, because it means all the critters inside are doing the job and everything is doing very well. So that is one way to bring back that smell in your house, just by having such a terrarium. Yeah. Did you say, but more important than the smell of rain is the sound of the droplets hitting the veranda roof? I can imagine that, yes. Or I don't have a veranda, but the rain on the windows. I have had times where I was surprised by the rain, and I still had my sunscreens out, so I had to get them in, kind of in an emergency, because otherwise the rain would become so much that the cloth of the sunscreen would just drop, and it would be a very hard time to get it back straight and to roll it up again. So yeah, that can happen as well. But also the sound of rain droplets on a table that's outside, or in a pond, in puddles, things like that. And those are all great sounds, for me at least. And especially when you have had a long time of a dry period, like back in 2019, we really had a drought here in the Netherlands. It stopped raining, I think sometime in February, and the first rain we had was really substantial rain, was in October or November that year. And I think that in between that time we might have had a little bit, but not much, and we really had a big drought. So when the rain came back, people were relieved to also smell and hear that rain, and people would open up the windows not only to let the fresh air in, but also to smell that air, because it signified that things were changing again, and for the better at that moment. So yeah. Let's see, what can we actually do? How can we create golden oldies? And in a fantasy setting, what do you define as a golden oldie? Oftentimes here on Earth we say it's a song, maybe actors or sportsmen, like they form a golden oldies team of football or soccer or whatever team sport you play. You have actors that are returning in some movie, and he or she is a golden oldie to return in that movie franchise or something like that. And people may hear songs from that movie and be reminded of that movie. I mean, I think there are lots of people who know the movies Grease, for example, with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. What are the other movies? Never-Ending Story. I mean that. On a gaming Discord server where I was, they posted the shorts that had the theme music of that movie in the background, and it was an earworm for me for a whole week. But it instantly brought back that movie, and not only for me, but for lots of people on that server who have seen that movie either in theaters or just at home. Um, I mean, that is what also can happen. It not only brings you back or brings memories back of that time, it can also connect people who have the same memories or I should say memories of the same event or the same things that are a positive experience in their lifetime. So that's another reason to have that in your world in one way or another. It also is a sign, or it can be a specific sign of your culture, for example. Something that is, how should I say that? Something that is very important in your culture can become a golden oldie, for example. Did you say in 2018 you had a dry spell in Norway? The water level of the river, the longest in Norway, the Glomma, was low. A drought-marked rock with 1947 appeared again. Oh, wow. Watch films in summer? Never done. We have 2 light nights to stay indoor watching telly. I can totally understand that. But if you look at the United States, for example, they had those drive-in movie theaters, something like that. That's not something we had here in the Netherlands. We still don't. But that can bring memories back as well for good times that people had right there. But think about other ways. I mean, maybe not a movie, but a screenplay that is performed outside instead of inside. I mean, in fantasy realms, it can be very logical to have a troupe who is performing a play outside and people get to see that, and they might have a certain song or a certain melody that is known by a lot of people. Think about The Witcher, with Jaskier, with his Toss a Coin to Your Witcher. Those are familiar things. And if you have a famous bard or a famous actor, whatever, who has a certain saying or who has a certain song that they always perform, even in your fantasy world, that can bring back memories for people. And it can signify something specific of your culture, of their culture, I should say. So yeah, that's another reason to include it in your story. Did you say things you do together with others? Those are memory recorders together with sound and smell. Exactly. Sound, smell, feeling, and not only the emotional feeling, but also what you can actually touch, taste. I mean, I remember the taste of fresh melons and fresh peaches. It's something that I will never forget, even though I'm not able to eat them anymore. But it is something that I still remember. And as weird as it may sound, when I smell that, when I smell a melon or a peach, it also, in a way, brings back that taste. So yeah, that's incredible. Did you say bard shows? Yeah, exactly, bard shows. I mean, there are so many things you can use in your fantasy story. You don't need to be limited to what we call golden oldies on the radio or the movies. It can be so much. It can also be, in my humble opinion, let me put it that way, because we are talking about smell and taste. It can also be a dish or a dessert that is particular for a certain time period, for example, um, which is for a certain time period. Maybe if you are, let's say, you're writing a sci-fi story, and people are talking about certain, or a dystopian story, and people are talking about a certain dish that they wish they could eat, and they just happen to find those ingredients, and they can make that dish just one time again. It brings back those memories because those ingredients weren't available for such a long time. That could be a way to include it. It could be something, it could be a dish that is specifically related to an event that happens, for example, every, I don't know, 5 years, every 10 years. A dish that is related to a comet in the sky, to an asteroid, or really small ones, coming down to your planet. There are so many ways to look at it and to include it in a way that people still remember it, but it's completely different than what we know here on Earth. So think about that. Did you say taverns with a stage in them? Yeah, exactly. And you have been doing that in Corsa. Yeah, taverns are ideal locations, but there are also stages outside, I think, especially when it's when the weather is good. If you have a troupe that has a few carriages, they might even carry their own stage, small stage, with them. Because in a way that would be that way. Let me rephrase that. In that way, they would be. They would know that they would have a stage to perform on, instead of having to do it on the ground. So yeah, those are also possibilities. You can have it in a tavern, but you can also have restaurants where people might have a stage. I know that that nowadays restaurants do have more entertainment. Some certain restaurants do have more entertainment when you are eating. It's live dinner shows or something like that. I haven't been to one yet, but I have seen some things about it on the internet, and they seem like really fun shows. And you could have that in your world as well. I mean, why not? You're not limited to what is normal here on Earth. It's, after all, your world, not someone else's. So you can basically do anything. And remember, when several hundred years ago, when a nobility, when royals had feasts, they would have performers to liven up the feast and to entertain their guests. So it's not a weird thing to have that in your fantasy story. It's also, for example, the roasting of a pig, or turkeys, chickens, you name it, or any creature that is really big, and they imagine them being brought in on these large plates or on that rack that has to be carried by two people, otherwise it's just too much, it's too heavy. And the smell of that meat or whatever dish is being brought in brings back the memories for those people. The memories of, for example, in centuries ago, I mean, it wasn't, life wasn't that whatever. It wasn't as luxurious as we have it today. I think I said that right now. Correct, right? So feasts like that would not be done every week or whatever. It would be really something special. And if there were battles or wars, or, and I mean, it can be between cities, right, and between clans, those are the times that food can be scarce. So when you finally have the time again to have a feast, it brings back memories. Did you say 1500s Shakespearean theatres would be a horse-drawn stage with one side opened from the descriptions? Yeah, that's a similar thing as what I was thinking about, indeed. Acrobats, exotic beasts, strongest men in the world. Hey, you mean like seeing and smelling a whole white boar roast on a spit? Like that? Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's... Those are... Those bring back memories. Those things, just to see it, but to smell it, the taste of it, it makes it oh, how shall I say that? It makes your world more vibrant. And for your characters, who are often on a journey in one way or another, smelling something from home is always good. Well, is often I should say, good. If you have a world where there are lots of wars, or if you have a dystopian world or a sci-fi world or anything like that, it can be so different, and it can really transport people in your world to an earlier time when things for them were still good. When the smell of the rain, the petrichor, meant that they could go into the forest and harvest certain mushrooms, for example, that otherwise wouldn't be available. They could hunt certain animals that would now come out more because other smaller animals would come out more because there is more food, things like that. And if they've had a period when there's not so much rain, that will change. Yeah. And did you say experience someone else's feast somewhere, they go half around the world, could become a traveling memory later? Exactly, exactly. And when they then later on pick up a certain smell or a certain taste, it will bring them back to that one feast that was good. And these are important things for your character, for your world, and with that for your readers, because we have to be able to trust to work with our senses, and the things that work very good for memories are smell, taste, and sense, feeling, because that is connected to those memories. So not only are you giving your characters something to remember, you're also helping your readers imagine your worlds more vividly from what you describe, from what you put in your story. So I think I've covered basically all the reasons why I think it's important for you to look at those golden oldies, to think about what could be in your story as a golden oldie. Yeah. So let's see if we can work with that in one way or another in our first creative session. Did you say you have a character saying it's easy to forget all the hardships of a journey, all the sweating, being too warm, and the swatting of bugs when recalling the bonfire meals? I think that's a very good example indeed. It can really transport you to somewhere else, and it can help you forget the situation you are in right there, right now. Think of the, what is it called? The lembas breads in Lord of the Rings. The taste of that bread is different for everyone who eats it, and it brings them back just to that point, and it just helps them forget the terrible situation they are in right there, right then, even if it is just for a moment. So there are so many reasons to include it in your world, in your story, in one way or another. And one thing I almost forgot, it's not only those senses, the taste, smell, sight, taste, smell, sound, taste, smell, sight, sound. It can also be objects that remind you of things, but objects are not quite golden oldies. I think, in a way, you can just make them golden oldies. Objects can have memories attached to them. And of course, depending on how you do it, an object can actually also have a smell or a sound or a taste. Think of scent sachets with, for example, lavender or other herbs or flowers or things like that. On the outside, it may just look like a satchel, but it has a certain smell that lingers, which can make it important for your characters, for any character in your world. Did you say lembas bread is a good example? Inherited items, yes, exactly. I have one of that. in the Tekken Chronicles, because it brings back a few things. Well, yeah, I have one really inherited item, and I have another item, but for that you guys have to read the story, because otherwise I will give it away, and I can't do that. Not with this particular item. I can't tell you guys about it, because that would really give away a few things that are too important to give away. So you'll read about that slowly in the Chronicles. Okay, so let's get to our first creative session. I think I am going to see if I can get some more history on a certain item, and or not an item, the peaches. Because yes, I love peaches, but peaches are also an important thing, in an important fruit, I should say, in Tekken Chronicles. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into why it is so important for one certain character that you guys get to meet early on. So let's get to our first creative session, and I wish you all a lot of fun with that, with creating. Let me put this one on so you guys don't have the double sound of the birds. Let's see. Quickly check. Yep, that's going good. Perfect. 25 minutes from now. Have fun. Hey Maggie! Just a very short interlude. Maggie is my favorite streamer of all time for the games, and she's a wonderful human being. And if you haven't checked her out yet, let me put the link to her Twitch in the chat. She is a variety streamer and I love her. It's always such a pleasant time to be in her streams. So if you are interested in gaming, please go check out Maggie's Twitch and subscribe to her. You won't regret it, I promise you. And back to the first creative session. And we'll get into the beavers later on. And that is the end of our first creative session. How did it go for you guys? I have to say, I'm satisfied with what I've accomplished. Maki, again, you are so welcome here. Yes, the Vivas. Guys, for those who don't know Maki yet, Maki is a variety streamer of several games. I met her first a couple of years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, when she was streaming Elder Scrolls Online, and that happened to be a game I was playing, and I wanted to know more about it. And by seeing her streams, I learned so much about it, and her community is so great. I love it. And now she also plays other games, and it's so fun to see, and the community is heartwarming and is really participating in what they can participate in. So that's awesome to see. And Maki is just a wonderful person, and she has a way with things. And the beavers is really something from Maki's community, and I love seeing them here. In the future, I think we'll have some other creature here in our things, in our community. The flutter nymph, but that's a design I still need to have made, because I can't draw for the life of me. I've tried, but yeah, that's something I still need to learn. So again, if you haven't checked out Maki's Twitch yet, and you are interested in variety games, be sure to check out her link. It's in the chat. You'll love it, I promise you. And Dida says hi to Maki. Maki, I hope you've had a wonderful dinner, or you're having a wonderful dinner. I wish you a great dinner, and I'll see you soon again. So what did I do for my Golden Oldies? Dina's idea of something that was inherited got me thinking about something. For Naja, there are a few things important, and I mean, this is not a hard thing, so you will see it in the books, in the first page, I think, the first 2 pages of the book, so that's not really a spoiler. She has a few bracelets that she wants to wear during the ceremony of the last turtle release of the year. And one of those bracelets is something she got from her mother when Naja first became the leader of the ceremony. And that is the bracelet with the turtle charm. Besides that, Naja also got pink peaches from her mother to eat before the ceremony, because the ceremony is not only a ceremony on land, but she also goes swimming with the turtles to actually release them and to bring them to safety, to another safe place, I should say, where they can grow further. But as you might know, if you go swimming with a full stomach, with food that is, I have no other way to say this, but it's heavy in a way, and here in Netherlands we call it's heavy on the stomach. So you can get really sick if you go swimming with that. But with that ceremony taking place a few hours before lunchtime, but after the first breakfast, also a few hours after the first breakfast, it is important that Naja has something in her system to make sure that she has energy to get through the ceremony including the swimming that she needs to do. So Maggie, what are you thinking about? I'd love to hear that. So Naja's mother found out that the pink peaches give more energy and longer lasting energy than the yellow and orange peaches. Well, the flesh of the peaches is orange, and yellow. So these pink, the peaches with the pink flesh give more energy and give longer lasting energy, which of course is very good, and it's not so heavy on the stomach, so that really helps. So that is what she brought the first time and every other time that those turtle ceremonies were done. The pink peaches were a gift from a queen from a southern state, and that was probably a couple of decades before Naja was born. So it's quite special. And the gardener, the imperial gardener, managed to grow the peach trees from the peach pits, and they actually produced the pink variety. So that's a good thing, because they were a gift to the imperial family. The pink peaches are also rather limited to the imperial family, but the emperor and the empress, Naja's father and mother, decided in the past that the protectors, the turtle protectors, would also get something of that. So everybody will get a jar of peach juice, of the pink peach juice, and they will also get what is called fruit leather, and that is made of what is left after the juice has been made. If you know anything about juice making, or if you don't know anything about juice making, I should say, if you press whatever fruit that you have and you press it in a juice maker, you are left with pulp or puree, whatever you want to call it. And if you have a special canning a special canning device, like I have, we call it a wek kettle. Then you put all the fruit in the top, and you have a whole process, and in the end you're left with the pulp while the juice has been filtered out. That pulp can be dried, and what you are left with is what is called fruit leather. But of course, that with the pink peaches, it's different again. Or it's not. The result is not different, but it is not given to the common people. It is only given to the protectors of the turtles. So that is what I include. And why is this so important? Because Naja's mother has passed away several years ago. That's a whole other thing. And for that you will need to read the books later on, because that's going to be in the books. So that's that combination is what makes it so important for Naja, but also for those other turtle protectors, because thanks to the empress and the emperor and the imperial cook, I should say, because he came with the idea of the juice and the fruit leather, those protectors also have that. So yeah, it's something the turtle protectors, including Naja, have in common, and it's a good memory for them. Yes, peaches. Yeah. I mean, I have them drying in my food dehydrator right now. And Maki, you say you would like to try the juice. I think the juice will taste really delicious. I had a few peaches here at home that were just too ripe to be able to cut them up into slices for the food dehydrator, and I just that I could smell it and I could taste a little bit of the juice. And luckily enough, this particular peach was one that I could eat. I tried it very tentatively, but I could try it, and it was juicy and it was really sweet and fresh. So it tasted wonderfully. And did you say, yeah, sounds delicious? Yes, and the pink peaches with that have become a status symbol indeed. And um, I mean, the turtle protectors, there are adults, but there are also children who take care of the youngest turtles. That is really an honor in Silk and Bamboo, the archipelago and the empire that's Nasha's home. And also for the children, they have the same rule. Each child gets one jar of that juice, and each child gets that fruit leather, so that they have that. And their parents and other family, they won't touch it unless the child, no matter how young they are, unless the child is willing to share that. So yeah, it's really regarded as a status symbol, and even the parents and siblings can't touch it. They are not allowed to touch it unless the child says it's all right to touch it. So yeah, it's rather special. Did you say you imagine the women decorating the best clothing with pink peaches? Yes, yes, that is most certainly happening. But because the pink peaches are really something for the imperial family, it's not something that common people can easily do. Because if you, I mean, one or two in an unseen or not that easily to see part of your dress or something, that's okay. But you can't, as a common woman, common person, because man and everything in between, they can wear it, but they can't, they are not allowed to show it, because the higher the status, the more you are allowed. And if you have too many peaches showing on your clothing, too many of those pink peaches showing on your clothing, you could have a serious problem. So you have to be really careful. That's, I mean, it's a status to get those pink peaches and to get that juice and to get that fruit leather, but wearing it on your clothing, have it embroidered or painted on, that that can be a real risk. Did you say embroidery on a collar or something could also express support for the imperial family, no matter what rank? Yes, there are certain things that are allowed, indeed, like what you say, but as a commoner, the lower status you have, the more cautious you need to be. In this case, in Tergane, there are things brewing, so supporting the current imperial family, show if you do that openly, that is good, of course, but you have a chance that others who are not supportive of the current imperial family, they might have a problem with you. So especially the lower status you have, the more risk you have when you wear a little bit too much on your clothing like that. So those are all things that you have to keep in mind when you live in Ternate, and especially in silk and bamboo. So yeah, that's how I did it for the peaches and that particular bracelet. And it touches on the smell, it touches on taste, it touches on what you can see. And it brings together the community of the protectors, because the protectors have a special status in the empire, because the turtles have a very important role in the empire, and especially because of the history of the empire, where eons ago the people had to flee from their own country due to natural disasters, and they arrived at what is now the Silk and Bamboo Archipelago. There's a whole history behind that, and the turtles play an enormous leading role in that. And that is why they are revered, and that is why they are so important, and why it is so important that even nowadays, in silk and bamboo nowadays, the turtles are still protected, and are protected not only from the moment they lay the eggs, but also the hatching of the eggs, and the turtle slowly growing up and then being moved to another place. What you might compare to the Sargassum Sea here on Earth, where they have the Sargassum weed, where you will also see turtles and seahorses and all kinds of small creatures living in that sargassum weed, because it is a safe place to live for them until they have grown up. And in silk and bamboo, they first grow up in to a certain stage in very protective areas inside the archipelago, and then during those turtle releases, they are being brought outside to that safe area, to that weed area, where they are safe as well. So these protectors are very important in that, even from a young age on, because they are taught to protect the turtles. So if you are lucky enough to become a protector, especially when you are so young, you have a certain status also in your family, and that is what plays on and on through the culture, through the family lines, etc. So yeah, that's fun. And it's, how shall I say that, it is a way that it is a connection that the people have with those turtles and with the deity, that is, I think, in a way unknown here on Earth. You might compare it in a way to, what are the creatures called? Those whale-like creatures in Avatar 2, not Avatar the Airbender, but James Cameron's Avatars. They also have a special connection, and that is, in a way, what you see in Ternate as well, and with these particular turtles. And that is why the fact that the imperial family, the emperor and the empress, give those protectors those peaches and those juice and that juice and the fruit ladder, that is so important, because it is a way of the imperial family to thank the protectors, besides their normal payment and swimming clothing that's provided by the officials, things like that. So they are paid, but this is an extra thing that they get. So yeah, that's it's fun. And even though I hadn't quite thought of that. I mean, I knew that the peaches had an important role, but that's the fun part when you talk about these things with other people. It might just trigger something like it did with me, like with what Dita said earlier, and I told you guys earlier that the beavers are important in Mackie's community, and beavers are a remarkable creatures. And I wanted to do something in Tergane as well with the beavers, but I wasn't quite sure how. And now a couple of weeks ago, I found something that the beavers have inspired a certain creature that how shall I say this? The skin and the fur of the beavers of that creature is used, but the creature is not killed for it, because it sheds its skin more like a snake that's shedding its skin. So that's a completely different way, but the function of the skin is the same as the function of the skin of a beaver, and the creature also has a lot of similarities with the beaver, and that is one thing that's inspired by the beavers used in Mackie's community. I was like, I like those creatures, and at some point they began to grow on me more and more, and I was like, okay, so how can I use that, because that skin and the way it looks and the way it protects the beaver is ideal for certain things, but how can I do that without having to kill the creature? I was like, okay, I mean, we all know that certain creatures will be killed one way or another. That's also part of life in a way, but you don't if you can do it in a way that you don't need to kill the creature, especially in a fantasy story, then that has my preference. And I found that with the creatures that are inspired by the beavers. So yeah, that's a fun thing as well. But that has nothing to do with the Golden Oldies, our subject of today. So yeah, that's fun. Did he say beavers related to a pangolin or something? But it's a good idea to have sheddable pelts. That's fun and very fantasy world, since you don't see that in reality. Exactly. Okay, let me look up the pangolin. I think I know what you mean. But I need to check it again. Pangolin. No. I don't know. I would have to look into that, but it's not scales. It's really the fur that. The lighting is really bad. My apologies for that. I don't know why. Okay, let me see if I can adjust something. Ow. That's better. A little bit. Okay. I don't know why. That better? No. I'm sorry. At the moment I don't know how to adjust my just how dark I look. I have no idea. I just don't know. I only noticed now. Um, I need to look into lighting in a better way. Anyways, I it's not scales. I think the pangolin looks more like having scales. Um, it's something I'll have to think about, because my original idea is more the fur part, but you have given me something to think about. I'll have to see that. I'll have to think about that. It's yeah, it's fun. Now, one of the other things that is also important in Tergne is song and dance, and that is something that we will also see later on. Um, and those are things that can also be golden oldies. um, some things might even hark back to the big divide in one way or another, but other things will remind people of wars or perhaps rescues that have taken place, but also the connection with the deities, or as the people in Dragon City, or many people in Dragon City call them, the elders. And they have a somewhat more active role than most deities, gods, goddesses, whatever you want to call it, in most fantasy stories. I mean, they won't appear in the flesh, but they have ways to appear in Tagonite to the characters, and those are moments that can be remembered. Think of visions, for example, in the Sokomabu archipelago. The queen, back then it was the queen, when they fled and when they arrived in the archipelago where they are now. The queen at some point had a vision, what is now called a vision, of the deity who brought her the pearl of that helped build the Silkamambu archipelago further. Those are things that are also remembered not only in paintings but also in song and dance and in plays, because those are iconic moments that actually took place in history, in the history of Silken Bamboo. And people sometimes still have certain experiences with the deities that of which others might think to remember in song and dance. There are also moments when, for example, the dragon companions saved a village or a certain group of people, because that is one of their jobs. And that is also remembered not only in the tales but also in songs that have been written by bards who will bring it to other places. So those are also things to remember, and how to include it in your story. And what else? What other things do I have? Out of the top of my head, I just can't think of anything right now. But yeah, it's there are so many things you can do with it. There are most certainly certain dishes that are available in certain countries or certain cities or villages that hark back to particular moments or particular um, events, I should say. Of course, the big divide is remembered in specific with specific dishes and songs and dance and other all kinds of rituals, but also other events that have happened, maybe smaller natural disasters, or um, it might not be wars between countries, for example. If we look at Silk and Bamboo and Dragon City, those two have a connection, and that goes back to a friendship connection, where eons ago the Silk and Bamboo Empire was attacked by another empire in the Ring of the Many Islands. And in the end, the dragon companions from Dragon City helped out the Silk and Bamboo Archipelago, the Silk and Bamboo Empire, because the king of Dragon City and the back then already emperor of the Silk and Bamboo Empire were close friends. It's not the current king and emperor, but it goes way, way back. But they were close friends, and ever since, there have been treaties and marriages and other things to commemorate that bond and to keep on helping each other. So that's a different way, and they have certain festivities to commemorate that, with rituals, but also with certain songs, with specific clothing that is only that people only wear during those festivities and none other than those festivities. So that's also a way to do it. So what else? I have to be honest, at the moment I can't think of a specific thing. Let me think. Yeah, it's like what I said before, you need to look at what it can bring to the people, because it is something they remember. Either it's because it is an official thing, or because it brings back memories of the youth, memories of, I don't know, playing at the beach with the turtles, for example, or the dragon companions who played with the younger dragons, diving from certain plateaus into the ocean, things like that. Mages who have magical experiences together, but also commoners who have all kinds of experiences with each other, but also with the dragon companions, with the mages, with other magical races like the mer people, for example, and the small folk, for example. They are also very important in Tergane, and you will see things about that as well in songs and in plays and more things like that. So those are all ways and reasons to include it in your story. You can have books. That really depends on how your book industrialization is going. When the printing press here on Earth was discovered and was made, book printing became a lot easier, and books became far more accessible to common people. Before the printing press was there, all books had to be copied by hand, literally. So that meant that books were not that available to people. Automatically, that means that the way that stories are told, it's all oral. Or for example, also, oh, what is that system called? There is a people that uses ropes with knots in it, and the knots are for certain events that happen. So that is another way of remembering. And if you look at how at how things are remembered between different peoples, you might also see what's the English word? You might see the same things in different peoples. For example, dragons are a creature that you will see in many different cultures in various forms, but there are many cultures that actually have dragons in their history in one way or another, which is remarkable because those stories were developed independently. So that is a way of natural things, or might be a way. I mean, I don't know. I haven't. I don't have all the information about that, but it might be a way for natural events that are explained by such a creature that is similarly described by the different by the different peoples with the same result. For example, in Tergene, there are so many dragons in all sizes, and also with all kinds of magic. So that's a whole different story. But they also can have a certain meaning to people, and that is why stories are told and why songs are told, or sung, I should say, because the stories are used to tell something about what has happened. They are used to warn people of things, of events, but also to help people remember certain events. And that is what those golden oldies also can do. They help people remember things in one way or another. And here on Earth we call them golden oldies, and we have the songs and the movies. They hark back to good times, normally, at least. Golden oldies, as far as I know, hark back to good times. So that is a thing I try to. My apologies. I try to do in Tergene as well. You don't have to always have things that go back to good and bad times. Golden oldies for me, and that's really my personal opinion, golden oldies for me are things that only hark back to good things in Tergene, I should say. Well, and for me personally here on Earth as well. But the way I use it in my stories in Tergene and other worlds I have created, these are really for the good things, and not those are not related to bad events or sad events. These are really related to the good things that happened, and that people want to remember, and groups of people or one person, or it doesn't matter. It's something that people want to remember in a positive way. So that's how I see the Golden Oldies and how I use them in Tsergene. Um, I want to do one more creative session because I feel that I'm slowly winding down. My brains are slowly winding down. So yeah, I'm going to do one more creative session and then we'll call it a day. So I will see you guys in 25 minutes. And I think I'll be working a little bit more on those Golden Oldies for today. Let's see. Yep. Oh. Reset. Right. Here we go. I wish you a lot of fun and see you in 25 minutes. And that is the end of our second creative sprint. How did it go for you all? I hope it went okay. For me, I have to be honest and say I had a little problem. I know there is a short story that I wrote about the origin of silk, but I can't find it for the life of me. And there's another story that I wrote about rabbits that are in the White Mountains south of the White City. And that's a story I can't find either. So I guess I need to start looking at external drives and things like that, because I think those stories might be there. I think I did not copy them to my hard drive on my writing laptop. I mean, I remember details from those stories, so I knew I wrote them. Anyways, I was looking for that specific silk story because I wanted to check a few things. Well, I didn't do that right now, but I did work on how to bring that origin story to life in Tergane without it being a complete subplot, because for the main series it's not a subplot at all. It has nothing to do with it. So I'll look into that later. But first, let's see, because we have Alex who has joined us. Alex, it's great to see you as well. For those who don't know Alex is a great artist. She makes wonderful paintings, and let me give you the link to her YouTube channel. I always love seeing them. There we go. Anita says, oh, I say, it's good to see you as well. Alex, finally, once you weren't late. Yeah, I'm so glad you were able to catch it, to catch the live stream today. Happy to see you here. Dita says, hi, Alex. And Dita has to go, unfortunately, but you got a good session. Excellent, excellent. And here we have the link to Alex's YouTube channel. For those who watch this live stream later on, I will post both the links to Maggie's Twitch channel and Alex's channel in the description box below, so be sure to check them out and pay them a visit, subscribe if you can, follow, things like that. I promise you won't regret it. You will love it. So the silk origin, that is something of which I thought the touch, the feeling of the product and the other ingredients used. I mean, silk is not just the off-white silk that is produced from the cocoons of the silkworm, but we get it in lots of different colors. So I decided to include a song and dance and ceremonies about those ingredients as well, and have the onlookers be able to touch the ingredients and the silk in its various forms, from really the start, the rough cocoon, to the end product, so that people can really feel what it's like and what the ingredients, the dyeing ingredients, are like before the actual end product is there. So that harks back to the feeling of the cloth that is being used, but not only that, but the feeling of the ingredients before you have the end product of the cloth. And I think that is very important as well, because there's a huge difference between especially back in the days. I mean, right now we have all kinds of machinery to make everything soft, but a few centuries ago it was a whole different story. So there was a huge difference between clothing that was made from hemp or from cotton or from linen and silk. So, and also the different kinds of silk. You have silk from the silkworm, but you have also, and that is very expensive silk, from what I understand, silk from certain plants that grow in the water, certain lilies, I think, or lotuses. I think lotuses. Um, so that also makes a huge difference, and I think it's good when you include that as well. And in this case, silk is a very important product in silk and bamboo, but also in other parts of Tergene. And here we also see my apologies. Here we also see that certain products have been brought into the archipelago. Like the silkworm didn't exist in the archipelago up to a certain point. Other forms of silk were there, so those are also included. But it's a way to remember things, and also there's song and dance and plays, and like I said, people can touch the stuff, but it's also how the ingredients are sourced, where they come from, how the smell is around that, and songs they might have during the harvesting process, from the various forms of silk, but also the various ingredients, and that's, it goes back to the whole production process. So yeah, that's also a thing I'm using in Tergene. Like I said, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, and thank you for visiting. It's so much fun to see familiar faces. I love that. So right now I noticed that I'm starting to have trouble to form words. So this was truly the last session for today, because it's becoming too much for me right now. I had a lot of fun talking with you all about how to create golden oldies for your own worlds, and how I do it, how I've done it with these particular two things in Tergene. And I'm looking forward to more things in the future. If you have an idea of a topic you would like to see me cover in one of the next live streams, be sure to leave a comment, and I will see if I can cover it. I can't guarantee, because I want to be able to really talk about it, so it might take a little while before I get to it, but I will try to cover all the topics that you guys suggest. So for now, this is it. I wish you all a wonderful Sunday, and may the creativity flow for you, and I will see you next time.